Notre Dame, as it was the Fighting Irish winning their game last night over the Indiana Hoosiers. And we'll tell you more about college football as we'll have the other three first-round matchups in the college football playoff going up this afternoon and going into this evening. Should be some great games. There'll be 3 games on the schedule coming up this evening. We'll talk also with Harper Obell during the program about the NFL and the big news made by the Atlanta Falcons this week as they are going with a new quarterback. They are benching Kirk Cousins. That experiment just did not work. And now they're going to go with Michael Penix Jr. as the quarterback for the rest of the season for the Atlanta Falcons. And I'll get things straight here. We've still got our new equipment here, working with some bugs here I'm working on myself. So we'll try to get our first commercial break queued up for you here. Then I'm going to have a special guest live on the phone as I'll be talking with Sutton Shirley, who is the head girls basketball coach at Chestatee, as they'll be going into action this evening as they'll take on Cherokee Bluff for the Lanier Land Championship. All that coming up next here on 97.5 Glory FM, your radio station for North Georgia sports. You can tune in to our YouTube channel at Team Glory Sports and get a chance to hear everything going on here in the background here at 97.5 Glory FM. We've got much more for you coming up next.
Injuries are never planned and often happen after hours or over the weekend. That's why NGPG Orthopedic and Sports Medicine offers the Black and Blue Walk-In Clinic for injured athletes every Monday morning in their offices in Gainesville, Brazelton, Buford, Houston, and Jefferson. No need to call. Just walk right in between 8:30 and 11:30 on Monday mornings. And one of their sports medicine and orthopedic doctors will be there to help identify, treat, and care for your injury. To learn more, you may visit ngpg.org/black-and-blue.
It's flu season in North Georgia, and now is the time to take care of yourself and get your flu shot at Riverside Pharmacy. Nobody wants to be hit with the flu bug, but if you haven't had your shot yet and you've been bitten with the flu, the pharmacists at Riverside Pharmacy in Gainesville can help you too. They can fill your prescription with expert care and have you up and going before you know it. And they're your headquarters for all of your over-the-counter needs. Riverside Pharmacy across the street from City Park, serving Gainesville for over 60 years.
Here I am on the road again, ready to pick up the kids from school, go by the grocery store, and do all the things a busy mother does. It's because I just left North Hall Tire and Wheel, where they made sure I was ready to go. They put on a fresh set of tires, checked the brakes, and even the battery. I know I can trust Mike and Matt and the guys at North Hall Tire and Wheel. They have everything you need, all the name brand tires at the best prices, and the service you need. They're on Cleveland Highway in Gainesville, so give them a call at 770-297-5308.
And welcome back to the Saturday Morning Sports Show, 97.5 Glory FM, your home for North Georgia sports. We're going to go to the phones now and talk to our first guest this morning on the show. We're going to be talking with Sutton Shirley, the head girls basketball coach at Chestatee High. Hey, good morning there, Sutton.
Good morning, Mike. Good to hear you.
Good to be with you, sir. So you were talking about off the air. Did you get much sleep last night, buddy?
I mean, I think I rolled into bed about 2:30 or so, and woke
plenty.
up about 7:30. But yeah, there's plenty of time to sleep later.
Yeah, this is your morning wake-up call from that standpoint. So I know the one thing about it. Let's talk about first off. The Lady War Eagles are looking for their first championships. What, since 2012?
2012, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so you were a spectator at that point, seeing that team back then, and something the girls you got on this team now, Sutton, they weren't even in school back then, were they?
No, we've talked about it. They know about it. The sign hangs in the gym, and Lanier Lane's always been something that has been a goal every year since I've been here. So they know the importance of it, but no, they've never gotten a taste of that or seen that from the Chestatee side of things.
So tell me about the experience, because last night you had a big second half defensively holding East Hall at only 10 points. And we go back to last year, when you lost in the semifinal, that great matchup with North Hall. I know it's something you've been wanting to get to this point since you've been at Chestatee High.
Yeah, this group of kids, they really, really are close-knit, and they like to do things for each other. Defensively, we have to do things as a unit. We can't do things one-on-one. And offensively the same way. And I think that this tournament, the first two games, has kind of really displayed how that makes us the best team possible that we can be, is sharing responsibility, being there to be in help on defense or to make the extra pass on offense. And this group of kids has really bought into that, and I think it's made us it's put us in the position we're in.
Tell everybody about the transition going from one of the best players ever in this county with Riley Black, and now you're depending on two sisters from the standpoint. You've got the Bull sisters and the Boyds going there. So tell me about, you got a senior in Caroline, and you've got Allie J, who's really stepped into a great role. Tell everybody about those two girls.
Caroline's been doing Caroline things for 3.5 years at this point. She's made big shots from the time she was 14 and a freshman playing in, region championship games. And she's consistently been there in big moments. And Allie J has come and fit in really well. She gives us a spark off the bench. She can make us bigger depending on who we sub her for, or quicker depending on who we sub her for. And she's done a good job of kind of molding into that role. When she comes in the game, it normally moves Caroline to a different spot, and Caroline's done a really good job of handling that mentally, of being able to kind of take that mental pressure off her younger sister and her having to learn multiple spots. And I think that's helped us a lot offensively. But they love each other. Obviously, they're sisters. They're super close. And it's been a cool thing to have two sets of sisters on the team that play a lot of minutes for us.
I missed you in the Greater Atlanta Christian game last week, and you were saying at that point that was probably the most well-rounded game your team had played, and I think it carried on since that time.
Yes. We started the season off 3-4, and we had played 5 top 10 teams, played really well against all of them except one. And that game we played, the Holy Innocents, we played really well in the first half, and then wheels came off second half. But we had played some really good competition on purpose. These kids, the one thing I can say about them, this group especially, they're probably the toughest mentally group that I've had at Chester T. And I knew they could handle that kind of stretch. And they just stuck with the process. And that early on experience has really helped us. We needed the GAC game to get over the hump and experience a little success against a top 10 team and enjoy that victory. We needed that win, but they really just dealt with the gauntlet I threw in front of them and kept taking punches, and they wouldn't lie down and just kept coming back to work, and it's kind of paying off right now.
Well, we mentioned the Boyd sisters and with, of course, the Bull sisters, but also the defense, what a job they've been doing. You had Peyton Cable and also Weaver, which really was able to do a job in the second half last night.
Yes, Peyton has been super, super consistent, and really she's been consistent her whole career. And she's improved every year. Defensively, she's always going to show up. She's going to take charges. She's going to get rebounds. I don't know how many offensive rebounds she had last night, but I know she had at least 6 second chance points that were huge for us. And then Jemiah really sparks us and gives us energy. She has some length that not many other people have on our team. And she's a difference maker for us when she's out there and bringing energy. She got in a little bit of foul trouble last night, and we're going to hope that doesn't happen tonight. But she is actually leading us in charges this year, which is something that she's kind of really improved on from last year to this year. And those two bring a ton to us, size-wise, physicality-wise, on the defensive end and on the offensive end. When we're in a lull, we go to them a lot to try to get some paint touches, and they've done a good job when we've gone to them on scoring the ball.
We're talking with Sutton Shirley, the head girls basketball coach at Chester this morning on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. They get ready for the championship round of the Dairyland tournament this evening. In the finals, they'll take on Cherokee Bluff. Let everybody know about the grind. This isn't the easiest thing in the world to do. Play 3 straight days at the end of the semester. You had finals yesterday and the day before. You're getting ready for the Christmas break. Everything goes on with that. girls have their minds on the Christmas holiday upcoming week and with New Year's, and then on top of that, having to focus on winning a championship. Tell everybody about the grind.
Well, I'm gonna give a shout out to the Chestatee admin. They've been very generous to me the past couple of days of allowing me a little bit of freedom, which has been awesome. So shout out to Miss Cantrell and Dave Bishop and Ben Corley and Miss Gibson for that. But it has been an absolute crazy last, 60 hours or so. And hopefully it's a crazy another about 12 hours to finish it out. And the kids, I think that gives us a advantage a little bit. These kids have been in this situation the last 2 years in a region tournament grind, and they're used to having to play games with not a lot of prep time, and having to kind of adjust on some whiteboard talk and watching a little film and not getting a lot of practice reps on stuff. And they've experienced this before, and hopefully that will help pay off tonight in the championship game. All
right, so I know you're tired. So tell me about these girls, because they had to play 2 tough games Thursday, Friday, and then you get ready for Cherokee Bluff. And tell me about the matchup this evening with the Lady Bears.
Cherokee Bluff's been in our region the past 2 years. I think we've played them 5 times in the past 2 years. So we are familiar with their personnel. Claire and Bristol are 2 really, really, really good guards. Hallie Wilson and Emery are both very good posts. They're bigger than kids that we have on our team. So they're going to have a little bit of a size advantage on us. And we're going to have to come out and play for 32 minutes and do what we do, and do it well. And we're going to have to shoot the 3 pretty well as, in addition to that. But that's what we practice, and that's what we've been doing for the past 3 years. So we're going to continue to try to do what we do and see what happens.
Well, I always say defense wins championships, and you got to shut down a team that really surprised a lot of people by being Lakeview last night.
Yeah. We're going to look a little different than Lakeview did.
Sure.
And challenge them a little differently than Lakeview challenged them, and see what happens. Coach Scott over there does a really, really good job. She's got a good staff, and I'm sure that they're going to be well prepped for us. But we split with them last year in 2 really close games, and so I think it's going to be a really competitive, good Lanier-Land championship game.
Oh, no doubt. But it's going to be classic. No doubt about that. So tell me about your schedule for today. You're going to get girls getting a late day going to get out of bed. Routine's so important for these players. So what's the schedule for today?
Yeah, we're going to get to school about 2:30 or 3. We're going to watch a little film. We're going to get loose and do some things, walk through some scout stuff, do some things that we need to do and get a little better on and sharpen up, and then right over to Gainesville. It's supposed to be a 6 o'clock tip, but
yes,
we both know it'll probably be about a 6:45 tip. So we're gonna be there in plenty of time to make sure everybody's wide awake, make sure everybody's mind's where it needs to be together as a group, and try to keep it as normal of a routine as we can for a Saturday game over Christmas break.
I missed you in the Gary Glenn Christian game. You won that one, so I'm missing the night's ball game. Gary Glenn's going to fill in for me. So at the halftime of the boys' game, go by and see Joe and Gary. And the best 2, I say those 3-pointers. I say bullseye, friend. Okay.
Yes, sir. I hope there's a lot of those tonight.
All right, Sutton. Thank you so much, buddy. Congratulations on the win last night. We'll talk to you later. Okay, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. That is Sutton Shirley, the girls basketball coach at Chestatee High, as they go up against the Cherokee Bluff Lady Bears later on this evening right here on 97.5 Glory FM. As I mentioned, Joe Gailey and Gary Glenn bring you the play-by-play here on your home for North Georgia Sports. 97.5 Glory FM and the Lanier-Land Championship coming up next. We got much more for you on the Saturday Morning Sports Show.
On-time service and experience matter for your home's heating and air system. For more than 40 years, Conditioned Air Systems has been North Georgia's solution for residential HVAC installation, maintenance, and repair. Family owned and operated, we deliver the highest quality service on any brand and model with no hidden fees, promising 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Comfort you can feel, quality you can trust. Visit conditionedairsystems.com to schedule an appointment.
Injuries are never planned and often happen after hours or over the weekend. That's why NGPG Orthopedic and Sports Medicine offers the Black and Blue Walk-In Clinic for injured athletes every Monday morning in their offices in Gainesville, Brazelton, Beaufort, Houston, and Jefferson. No need to call. Just walk right in between 8:30 and 11:30 on Monday mornings. And one of their sports medicine and orthopedic doctors will be there to help identify, treat, and care for your injury. To learn more, you may visit ngpg.org/black-and-blue.
It's flu season in North Georgia, and now is the time to take care of yourself and get your flu shot at Riverside Pharmacy. Nobody wants to be hit with the flu bug, but if you haven't had your shot yet and you've been bitten with the flu, the pharmacists at Riverside Pharmacy in Gainesville can help you too. They can fill your prescription with expert care and have you up and going before you know it. And they're your headquarters for all of your over-the-counter needs. Riverside Pharmacy across the street from City Park, serving Gainesville for over 60 years.
And thanks to Sutton Shirley joining me this morning on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. 23 minutes now past 9 o'clock. Mike Wofford with you until 10. And still to come this morning, we'll talk about the Atlanta Falcons. We'll talk college basketball, college football. Let's recap what happened last night locally again in the Lanier Land basketball tournament. The 65th edition of this tournament, which began back in 1960. It is the longest continuous running holiday tournament in the state of Georgia when it comes to high school basketball. And this evening you'll hear the Lady War Eagles of Chestatee take on the Lady Bears of Cherokee Bluff, followed by the Cherokee Bluff boys looking for their second straight championship. They look to successfully defend it as they'll be in action against East Hall. Last night in those semifinal games, well, we had a couple of classics. First off, in the girls' ball game, you heard from Coach Sutton Shirley there about his team. They won by 19 points over East Hall at the Seth Vining Gym there at East Hall. But over at North Hall last night at Lynn Cottrell Court, they had a classic in that one in the semifinal as it was the defending champion Lakeview Academy Lady Lions, the defending GIAA state champions. They were in action last night against Cherokee Bluff, and it was the Lady Bears jumping out to a quick start. Then it was Lakeview coming back, took a lead in the third quarter, went back and forth throughout the entire ball game. And then it was Cherokee Bluff with a late run there. They were led in the ball game by Bristol Kirsch last night, who led all scoring. You heard from Coach Shirley talking about Hallie Wilson, the big girl underneath. She did a great job. There was some big shots last night by Audrey Graham for the Lady Bears last night. Claire Carlson, who's had an outstanding tournament for Coach Cassie Scott and the Lady Bears, as they were all instrumental in the game as it came down to the final shot of the ball game as Talia Gaither missed a potential game-tying three-pointer, and it was Cherokee Bluff holding on for the win over the Lady Lions of Lakeview Academy. So it sets up the girls' championship as it will be the girls from Chestatee taking on Cherokee Bluff again. Joe Gailey and Gary Glenn bringing the play-by-play here on 97.5 Glory FM. And the consolation game going for the third place trophy, it will be the girls there from East Hall taking on Lakeview Academy. Then the fifth place game, which takes place later on today, it will be the girls from Gainesville taking on North Hall, a game playing right now. There they start things off with the seventh place game as it's West Hall taking on Flowery Branch. Loser of that game will have to be in the play-in game next year and play Johnson to win that game to get back into the tournament next year. And then they play the number one seed, the tonight's champion, going into the 2025 Lanier Land Championship. And on the boys' side last night, talk about a classic. It was over at East Hall for about the 150th time, maybe more than that, maybe heading for the 200 times. It was Gainesville and East Hall. Those two teams combined have won 49 of the 64 previous Lanier-Land tournaments, and they were doing battle last night at East Hall, and it was going back and forth. You saw some outstanding basketball last night playing above the rim from both ball clubs. And you have Charlemagne Givens in his second year at Gainesville, still looking for his first championship. As the Red Elephants were beaten last year in the championship game down at Johnson by Cherokee Bluff, and last night losing in the semifinals to the East Hall Vikings and Coach Joe Dix, who has seen so many games between Gainesville and East Hall, now coaching the Vikings for 17 years in his second stint as a head coach at East Hall. It went into overtime with Gainesville leading by 3 points with less than 10 seconds to go in the ball. Well, in fact, it was about 25 seconds to go in the ball game. Vikings had one more chance, and they would go for the time. And it all came up to their football quarterback, who does an outstanding job playing basketball for the Vikings, Jamarcus Harrison. He took the ball at the top of the key and drove and then hit the tying basket to send it into overtime. And then Chasen Jones, who did most of the scoring in the overtime period for the Vikings, and again, defense and some missed opportunities for the Red Elephants at the free throw line, gives East Hall the thrilling 68-65 win over Gainesville, and they'll now play Cherokee Bluff for the championship. I was trying to get a hold of Coach Josh Travis this morning, but I'm sure he was in the bed still getting his rest for tonight's ball game, as Cherokee Bluff will look to defend their championship as they won their first ever title. They're in their 7th year as a school, and they won the thrilling game last year against Gainesville, as I mentioned before. Tonight they'll take on a very powerful East Hall team. And you got two teams that right now are on streaks. You've got Cherokee Bluff, which is 10-1 on the season, and they are led by Boston Kirsch. And the other players that have on that team, they all contribute for Coach Josh Travis and the Bears. And it'll be Cherokee Bluff taking on East Hall at around 7:30. But as you heard from Coach Shirley, when you're playing 8 games at one location, it might be about a 30-minute plus delay before we get started this evening, especially the games going on right now as he speaks. So if you're a basketball fan like Joe Gailey is, you can go there early and stay all day long there at the Davis Hill Gym there at Gainesville High, and you'll see the best in Hall County basketball with the Lanier-Land Championship taking place today. And we'll have the championships once again this evening. The finals, the girls will feature Chestatee and Cherokee Bluff, followed by Cherokee Bluff boys looking for a repeat as champions, as they will go up against East Hall. And Joe Gailey and Gary Glenn bring you the play-by-play here on your home for North Georgia Sports, 97.5 Glory FM. We got much more for you coming up next. I'm Mike Wofford. This is the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.5 Glory FM. We'll have live video stream on YouTube at Team Glory Sports.
Here I am on the road again, ready to pick up the kids from school, go by the grocery store, and do all the things a busy mother does. It's because I just left North Hall Tire and Wheel, where they made sure I was ready to go. They put on a fresh set of tires, checked the brakes, and even the battery. I know I can trust Mike and Matt and the guys at North Hall Tire and Wheel. They have everything you need, all the name brand tires at the best prices, and the service you need. They're on Cleveland Highway in Gainesville, so give them a call at 770-297-5308.
If you need on-time expert plumbing service, Conditioned Air Systems is here for you. Our plumbers deliver the highest quality service in North Georgia 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. We've been North Georgia's source for elite residential and commercial services since 1983. Our licensed plumbers offer services for installation and repairs of pipes, water heaters, septic lines, and sump pumps. Choose Conditioned Air Systems for quality service and unmatched knowledge for your plumbing needs.
Injuries are never planned and often happen after hours or over the weekend. That's why NGPG Orthopedic and Sports Medicine offers the Black and Blue Walk-In Clinic for injured athletes every Monday morning in their offices in Gainesville, Brazelton, Buford, Houston, and Jefferson. No need to call. Just walk right in between 8:30 and 11:30 on Monday mornings. And one of their sports medicine and orthopedic doctors will be there to help identify, treat, and care for your injury. To learn more, you may visit ngpg.org/black-and-blue.
It's halftime here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show, 97.5 Glory FM. So let's go to the phones now. Let's talk with Harper LaBelle, who's joining us this morning to talk a little football. You ready for some football, Harper?
Well, if you're not ready by now, I don't know when you're going to get there. There were 12 games this week, and we're in the thick of it here today, Mike. College, even pro today, and then obviously Sunday will be NFL day, and interesting scenario with the Falcons we can take. But would you mind terribly if I just mentioned today that Valdosta State is playing for the Division III championship there in McKinney, Texas? So congratulations on their season, and good luck to the Blazers.
Right, I didn't know they were playing for the Division III championship. I thought they were still a Division II. How about that? I'm glad you told me that.
Yeah.
How about that? Go Blazers.
It's amazing if I ever say anything that teach you to do something, but I'm glad I was able to do it. We've kind of followed them a little bit all year. Don't really talk much about them, but when they were 6-0 and 8-0, and now they're 13-0, and they're playing Ferris State, who's 13-1, and Ferris and Valdosta both on a little bit of a hot streak, getting through this 5-game playoff that they've got to find a champion at that division. So, again, good luck to the Blazers.
Absolutely. What was it, the Amos Alonzo Stag Bowl, I think what they call it, but usually back in the day? And this be they've won several championships down in Valdosta, too.
Oh, gosh, yeah. That's championship city between all the high school and the college victories that they've had. But I'm not old enough to remember Amos Alonzo Stag and watch him play with those leather helmets.
Yeah, they call it Wintersville down in Valdosta. So I'm glad you told me about that, Harper, this morning. So did you watch the game last night with Notre Dame and with Indiana?
Well, I watched a little bit. There was a little Christmas party that I had to attend, and I was going to be rude if I said, hey, let's turn the TV on and watch something that's more important than this gathering. That wouldn't go over too well. So I'm going to use my better judgment, and I did visit with my phone. What was it, 14-0 at halftime? Or Notre Dame seemed like they were dominating, and it just looked like Indiana ran out of gas. They were beating some of the lower end teams in the Big Ten, and they struggled mightily against Ohio State, and then again against Notre Dame. So they're close, but I hate blowouts, especially at this playoff level. I'd love to see really competitive games. Just the weather. And Notre Dame itself were just a little bit too much for the Hoosiers. And they had a fantastic season, Coach of the Year in Kurt Signetti, but everything else was fantastic except for the way they really played last night.
But Harper, didn't that give a question to the committee about selecting Indiana to be in the top 12? That's
Absolutely.
The bad part about it.
Yep. And South Carolina and Miami and obviously University of Alabama are all saying, what the heck are you guys doing? Even Florida beating Tulane as well as they did yesterday kind of proves there is a one-loss discrepancy that doesn't make up for the amount of talent that you have on some of these teams. It's not just the starters, the depth that the SEC teams have, where you've got All-Americans and 4- and 5-stars that are sitting on the bench that are waiting to go.
Oh, no doubt about that. Talking about sitting on the bench getting ready to go, we'll transition this way. How about Michael Penix getting ready to be the starting quarterback now for the Atlanta Falcons?
Just something about that felt weird to me, Mike, the way it was handled. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm glad for Michael. I want the best. But if you look at Kurt's numbers, he's 7th in the league in yards, and he's in the top 10 or 11 in terms of touchdowns scored and a lot of different categories, but unfortunately he's number 1 in interceptions. And I think the Falcons in the front office especially, and I'm including the coaches there, your opinion matters too, but I think they said, hey, it's good, but it's not better than what Baker's doing, and we got to make a change. And so they're going to do it now against one of the worst teams in the league. So Michael will get broken in gently, if you will, but then you got to go to Washington and take on a very competitive and hungry Commanders team that they need to win in order to assure their playoff spot. So it's not going to be easy for that young man, but it never is. And we wish him the best. And I have no idea what they're going to do with the mess with the salary cap situation with Kirk.
Exactly, and that's the thing about it too, is that they went all in with Kirk Cousins. And it reminded me in a sense, since you went that way, let's go back to Matt Ryan, the way they treated him. It's like, okay, just something's, going on, as you said before, in the locker room, in the front office, Mr. Blank, whatever. You're 7-7, you're a game out of first place. If you end up winning, tying with Tampa Bay, you get the championship of the South Division. And so you thought Kirk Cousins was going to be your man for 2 years. It was going to take 2 years for Michael Penix to get ready. But now you're saying, okay, 15 games a season now, Michael Penix our man.
Yeah, and I don't know if Kurt's hurt. People are mentioning that he may still have some issues moving around, and that's what is a result of an Achilles and coming back too soon.
Sure.
He could have the yips. It's happened. I don't know. Guys that aren't open, he's got to get rid of the ball. He's got to throw it to somebody, and he throws it maybe to the wrong guy. I haven't watched the film. He may have guys that aren't blocking well for him or guys that aren't getting open for him. It could be play calling. There's a whole gambit of different things that you and I don't know right now.
Absolutely.
We just don't. But the decision to make the change, and you think about this, Mike, you mentioned Matt Ryan. This is, 3 years ago?
Yes.
Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder,
yes,
Taylor Heineke, and now Kurt. We've gone through 6 different quarterbacks now in the last 4 years.
Yep.
We're like Cleveland in that we can't get our bearings straight on who we want to keep in at that most important position.
Well, you are the expert when it comes to cap money. How in the world is it going to affect the Falcons in the future?
Yeah, there's a lot of different scenarios, and right now all of them are bad. It could be $60 million, it could be $38 million. I read this morning that there could be a $10 million bonus that Kirk is set to receive shortly, and they might cut him before that. He has a no trade clause, and that could come into play. So I'm not exactly sure how that Terry Fontenot is going to get this all figured out, but he better, because we're in a whole mess of hot water that we were in 3 years ago that we said we're never going to get in again, and look what happened.
Well, you remember at the beginning of the season when you were there when the draft took place, and you heard about Michael Penix. You and I talked about that. I said, you could have had Brock Banners, who now is, one of the leading rookies in the league, and you see what the quarterback, what the Commanders have there, and it's okay, you're going Michael Penix, but it was for 2 years later on the road, Kirk Cousins was going to be the man, and you and I first talked about, is that Achilles well? And you know about the mobility issues you could have, but was it the decision-making, problems he was having? We talked about the receivers that just didn't seem to have the intensity to catch a football for the Falcons. So many things, and was he winning the locker room? A lot of things are in question right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And all of those could be a part of it. But the most important is, no matter what his numbers are or what type of leader he is or whether or not guys are getting open and all the things that you mentioned, it's everybody else is uncomfortable with 7 wins at this point.
Bingo. And you remember the Falcon fans? They were all Super Bowl. We're going to go back. This is going to be our year. And now you're going, uh-oh. We're in a mess.
Yeah. From a surgery standpoint, Mike, I just know as a fact that every doctor that's alive will tell you after surgery, we're talking at least 9 months of recovery before you're ready.
Sure.
And his surgery was basically from about a year ago. It was in November, though. So was he ready? Again, that'll be a part of it. And we're never going to hear the answer as long as he's a Falcon. Maybe if he's released and let go and we throw all that money away in terms of cap value and what we can do for next year or the years after that, that's when we'll find out some of the truth. But the decision's been made, and whether you like it or not, it's going to be Michael's team, I believe, for at least the next 3 weeks. And now what if he gets hurt and Kirk goes back in?
Exactly.
So that's a reason why you may want to consider keeping him as opposed to dumping him and all the other negative things that a lot of folks are going to do. So it's a very touchy situation, and I say that very gingerly. There's
Absolutely.
A little bit of everything that we have to consider that I know a lot of folks maybe haven't yet, but they probably should before they make their final decision.
Well, Arthur Blank can afford it. The Atlanta Falcons can't, though. That's the difference right now because of cap money and how it's going to affect every player on that team for probably the next several years.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that could be gone because they choose to leave as free agents.
Sure.
At the end of this year's term. Guess what? Welcome to football. That's the way it is now at literally every level, including high school. You got kids that have always said,
yes.
well, I want to transfer if I'm not going to play. And
Yep.
Mom and dad are going to move.
Mm-hmm.
Or you've got, the college situation, which Sam Houston State had 22 players leave and go into the portal and their coach before they played Georgia Southern in their bowl game a couple nights ago. 22 different players. So everyone and everybody is dealing with some sort of a position, roster, and player lineup issues.
Well, how about Marshall? Marshall, they pulled out the Independence Bowl against
Army,
right?
We're not even going to play. Yeah, we're not even. Forget it. We can't figure it out in time, and it's what an embarrassing loss to the players that did decide to stay.
Oh yeah. And
for those who don't know, real quick, Mike,
yep.
Share with our audience in case they don't know what Marshall had to do. They forfeited being in a bowl game, but they didn't forfeit the game. They said we're not going to play.
Yep, and you had the Army, which had the big game last week with Navy. They're winning the American Athletic Conference, going into a bowl game, and it's okay. Nobody's going to play us.
It's just crazy. It really is.
Well, what's crazy? Did you hear? And tell me if I'm right on this one. Where it's becoming now a minor league per se. It's an easy way to say it now with college football. Sacramento State. Looking and moving, this school from your days, I guess, at Colorado State, moving from the mountain, from the Big Sky, to the Mountain West, or maybe to the new Pac-12, building a brand new stadium. So they're going to have $50 million in NIL money to buy players.
Yeah, they're right there at the state capitol in California. And if anybody knows how to move money out in that state, it's the folks that are inside that building. So, they're moving on up. Good for them, but it is a very interesting conundrum. Is in order to do it, well, we need to raise some money, and they did. And who knows how quickly they will be able to surge and play at the FBS level. We'll find out, but it's amazing.
Well, and with that too, all the schools in the country are going through this, and we see back to the college level now, with the bowl games going on right now, and think there's still bowl games that are being played, even with the playoffs going on. And we've seen playoffs for years in the other divisions of college football, but now there's still that word about, the Big Four is going to be changing again, and with teams trying to change conferences, and it's all about money. And it's like, I know you, like me, you love loyalty to a team, but it's like you can't keep up with your team now each year.
Yeah, I saw the beginning of that when the one-and-done, quote-unquote, scenario went into place in college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
When a team like Kentucky says, we're just going to load up with freshmen. They're all five-star, best players, AAU champions in every way, shape, or form, and then they do a one-and-done, and they're gone. And how can I root for Kentucky or Louisville or, Florida, any of the great schools that have national championship promises when you don't know who's going to be on the team? If you're from outside of the area and you don't attend those games yourself, it's amazing. I used to love watching Wichita State. I use them as an example because they always had two or three guys that were sophomores and juniors that played, and then you got to see them again next year.
Yep.
And then the year after that, and there are a lot of great teams that we just honestly, if we don't keep up, we don't know who their players are. Football is very quickly become the same way. I don't know who my quarterback is this year, and I certainly don't know who my linemen are. So how can I root for the team in the same way? But yet I'm still asked to pony up and give more money than I've ever given before so that we can keep some of those guys around.
All right, segue final thing for you, and we'll talk about the Atlanta Falcons when we start in January, because I'm going to take next week off, and you and I can celebrate the new year, hopefully with the Falcons and a chance to be in the playoffs. But even with that, well, I'm talking with Dave Colton in a few minutes. He's in Troy, Alabama, getting ready for basketball game day. Even with Georgia State, and you're fighting for just some kind of resemblance of perception. And here we are, we're trying to fight against the pro teams, that kind of thing, as Dave talks about in Atlanta. And it's like, who's going to be our quarterback next year?
Yeah, you've got all kinds of different roster issues everywhere, at every level. You mentioned my Colorado State Rams. One of my former teammates is now in charge of the NIL development, meaning he's got to figure out how much money are we going to raise from people that don't have more to give, and then give more, and then get more, and then share it equally amongst the different teams that are out there, but yet still keep some of the stars. It's a mess. But that'll be for another time. And after you going to go on a vacation, Mike? You're going to have a little drink with an umbrella in it and a shirt that you God awfully wouldn't wear anywhere else but while you're on vacation?
No, guess where I'm going to be? I'm going to probably be in bed next Saturday morning for the first time in a long time. And then I'm going to come on Saturday afternoon. I'm going to produce a Georgia State basketball game with David Mercer. Okay, and then I'm going home and I'm going to spend time with my family and get ready to celebrate the New Year.
All right. Well, you sound like Eeyore when you're doing it, but in between, let's hope the Falcons get another win. They're going to play a team that could care less about winning. So I think it'll be great. The 2-11, 2-12 Giants, they have no incentive all to win. In fact, they probably will want to tank like the Raiders did last week. So very interesting scenario. The Falcons may get a win, but then they get the Commanders next week.
I heard one thing is okay. Desmond Ritter's not an NFL quarterback, and he almost beat the Falcons last week. Okay, you could be the Raiders, you could be the Giants, but you are the Atlanta Falcons, okay?
Yeah, he had 2 Hail Mary attempts, and neither one of them worked. We get a pick at the very end to save a very disappointing win. You know, there's no bad wins, so I'm not going to say it was bad.
Exactly.
But that was a tough win to swallow because even the players, when they got in the locker room afterward, I've heard they were pretty upset at the fact that the game ended up as closely as it did.
Hey, Harper, come see us sometime soon, okay, because we got a lot to talk about here getting ready for the month of January. You and your family have a very Merry Christmas, friend. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you, Mike. Merry Christmas to all. I appreciate it.
We've got much more before you coming up next. We've got the fourth quarter coming up next here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.5 Glory FM.
It's flu season in North Georgia, and now is the time to take care of yourself and get your flu shot at Riverside Pharmacy. Nobody wants to be hit with the flu bug, but if you haven't had your shot yet and you've been bitten with the flu, the pharmacists at Riverside Pharmacy in Gainesville can help you too. They can fill your prescription with expert care and have you up and going before you know it. And they're your headquarters for all of your over-the-counter needs. Riverside Pharmacy across the street from City Park, serving Gainesville for over 60 years.
Here I am on the road again, ready to pick up the kids from school, go by the grocery store, and do all the things a busy mother does. It's because I just left North Hall Tire and Wheel, where they made sure I was ready to go. They put on a fresh set of tires, checked the brakes, and even the battery. I know I can trust Mike and Matt and the guys at North Hall Tire and Wheel. They have everything you need, all the name brand tires at the best prices, and the service you need. They're on Cleveland Highway in Gainesville, so give them a call at 770-297-5308.
Your home is part of you, and keeping it comfortable and well-maintained is essential. Conditioned Air Systems is North Georgia's solution for residential heating, air, and plumbing services. For more than 40 years, our family has been committed to delivering the highest quality service by our certified technicians and plumbers. Experience the difference today when you choose Conditioned Air Systems for your home's heating, air, and plumbing needs. Quality you can feel, service you can trust. Visit conditionedairsystems.com to schedule an appointment.
97.5 Glory FM, 12 minutes now until 10 o'clock. You may have fun just watching me behind the scenes here on our YouTube channel at Team Glory Sports. You see how the old blind guy does things here. Is that thanks to all of our guests joining me so far this morning. And now we're going to go by phone to Troy, Alabama, and check out the weather forecast this morning as we talk with Dave Coyne, the voice of Georgia State. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Mike. It's a glorious day to wake up in Troy, Alabama.
It's an hour earlier, too, isn't it?
Sure is. It's 8:48 Central Time over here.
So, how's the weather?
It's great. I'm looking outside the hotel window. The sun is shining. I don't know exactly the temperature, but I'm guessing it's probably somewhere in the, low 50s, mid-50s.
Oh, wow. It's about 20 degrees cooler, warmer than it is here. So I'm sure you're enjoying a nice brisk walk this morning to start your day, aren't you?
Actually, no.
But you should be, right?
Yeah, you're right. I should be for the betterment of my health, but I'm on the phone talking to Mike Wofford at WGTJ.
And you're glad to be doing it, too. I know that from that standpoint. So, hey,
no question.
So you rode with the team. Georgia State's basketball team is playing their first conference game of the year in the Sun Belt Conference in lovely Troy, Alabama. Tell her about that experience.
Well, for Georgia State right now, this is the second time in the week that we've been in Alabama. We were at Auburn on Tuesday night.
I want to forget about that, Dave. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 100-59 was the final score. It was actually not a bad first half. We were down 12 at halftime, but Bruce Pearl and that second-ranked team in the country. They always say we made adjustments. Well, I don't think they made adjustments. I just think they said to themselves, look, this is Georgia State. We're second ranked in the country. We are Auburn, and it's time to put the pedal to the metal. And they came out in the second half and, out-physicaled us to some extent, shot the three well, ran fast breaks. We had too many turnovers, offensive rebounds given up, everything you would expect against the second-ranked team in the country. And as Jonas Hayes told me on our Panther pregame show that night when we were talking about Auburn, from what he had seen, and, he's a guy that played in the SEC over at Georgia and has seen plenty of SEC basketball. It was he surmised that, he would not be surprised one iota if in March it was Bruce Pearl and Auburn cutting down the nets, having won the national championship. That's not to say that they will, but that's to say that they have as good a shot as anybody in the country.
Oh, absolutely.
From what Jonas has seen at this time.
Sure. Tell me about, when Jonas got a technical foul called on him, and I know you're concerned about him getting tossed in the game because, he knew how physical it was. He wasn't happy with things. So, and then things changed after that, didn't it?
Yeah, and that happened at Kentucky, too. And our freshman, our 6'9" freshman, Flash Peters, who draws the assignment along with Nick McMullen and Cesar Edwards of having to deal with these SEC giant post players. It got chippy and physical at Kentucky a few weeks ago. It got chippy and physical for a short stretch there at Auburn the other night. And I told Jonas, I think part of that is that, those post players at Kentucky and those post players at Auburn do not expect post players at a G5 or a Georgia State to come in and be physical with them.
Exactly.
Nobody was playing dirty basketball, quote unquote. It was just physical basketball.
Just man up.
Kentucky, and they did, fully expected to come in and roll over Georgia State, as did Auburn. Although, like I said, Georgia State, held their own in that first half at Auburn on Tuesday night, down by 12 points. But again, it got a little physical in that second half because Georgia State did not back down from the physicality, a word we hear a lot nowadays with regards to college athletics. Georgia State did not back down, and Auburn was like, what's going on here? We're supposed to roll over these guys.
Yep.
Again, you look at the final score, and that's ultimately what happened. But, during that stretch that you're talking about, and I'm sitting, our broadcast location is right next to the bench, so I'm swinging from side to side because Jonas is walking back in front of me. But it did get a little chippy between Bruce Pearl, between Jonas and the officials, and, some of the players on both sides who are not expecting Georgia State to come in and not back down from a physical standpoint.
All right, so tell me about today's game with Troy. The first conference game. What kind of team does Troy have?
Well, right now they're 7-4 overall, and they are 5-1 at home. Historically, this has not been an easy place to come in and play. Going back to the old Trans-America and Atlantic Sundays when we shared a league with Troy, Georgia State's trying to snap a 4-game losing streak. The front end of that losing streak was at Kentucky. The back end was at Auburn. The two games in the middle are the ones that are of concern. Losses at home to Kennesaw State and to Charlotte. Now, Troy has won 2 straight, and they've won 3 of their last 4. They've got wins over, in the last 2 weeks, wins over Eastern Kentucky, Middle Georgia State, and LaGrange College. The loss was on the road, a 20-point loss at top 25 ranked Houston. So, they've got a couple of what we'll call easy wins in there with Middle Georgia State and LaGrange. But again, historically, Georgia State and Troy have had a good series. By the way, this is the 45th meeting all time between Georgia State and Troy, and it is tied at 22 wins apiece. And again, this is going all the way back to the old days in the Trans-America Athletic Conference and then the Atlantic Sun. So there's a lot of history between these two teams. And today we'll be meeting number 45 between Georgia State and Troy.
And you have seen all of them, haven't you?
I think I may not have seen all 45. I think there were some that were played back in the, I want to say, mid to late 60s.
Really?
Remember, Troy was known as Troy State, and it was a Division II college.
Yep.
And Georgia State has technically been Division I, what we know as Division I, since 1963, which was the year I was born. So, Georgia State's program is, from a Division I standpoint, is 61 years old. Troy, again, goes all the way back prior to that as a D2 school before jumping to the D1 ranks.
They were also known as East Alabama back then, weren't they, before they became Troy?
You may know better than I with regards to that. But I've only known them as Troy
Oh, yeah.
State.
I remember Troy State days, absolutely, especially the D2 days there and the NAIA days.
And they were a power in the D2 days.
Oh, they were.
I'm pretty sure they won a baseball national
Yes.
championship.
Yes.
They may have won a football national championship. I mean, they had a solid program back in the Division II days.
Oh, it's Alabama. That's all you got to say from that standpoint. All right, so Dave, everybody know they can listen to the ball game today on the Georgia State Sports app, right?
Yes, we will be on the GSU Athletics mobile app at 1:45 with our pregame. Tip-off at 2. The game will be tape-delayed, aired tonight on our 50,000-watt flagship 88.5 FM WRAS. And for those listening online, you can go to WRAS.org, O-R-G, or lowcountryradio.com.
All right, so next Saturday, I'm with you. I'll be producing the network. Next Saturday, you got Mercer. That'd be another big game.
Sure will, and that's another series, Mike, that goes back a long time, back to really when Georgia State was back in the independent days before joining the Sun Belt back in the mid-'70s. Going independent again, going into the Trans-America, you can follow the roadmap of conference affiliation, and Mercer has been one of the constants. Mercer, Georgia Southern, and to some extent this Troy basketball team that we're going to play today. Can I make one comment on the college football that you and Harper were talking on?
Yes.
Mike, I don't understand why, even going back to when there was a 4-team BCS, I don't understand why, and I remember saying this on talk shows back in the day, why FBS cannot mirror what FCS does and play a 2014 playoff and crown a true national championship without a lot of chirping from teams who, for whatever reason, were not part of the field. With all of this chirping on social media that's going on last night and this morning about whether Indiana fully deserved to be in the playoff or not over South Carolina, over Alabama, if you can't get it done with 24 teams, then you've got a problem. But FCS can do it. I don't understand why FBS can't do it and crown a true national champion.
There you go. And FCS does it well, too. You know, they have done it well for the old Division I AA days. They do as good as anybody.
Exactly. So mirror what they've done,
Yep.
Have a true playoff, and crown a true national championship and stop all the craziness of who deserved to get in or who didn't deserve to get in.
Hey, and use the bowl games as those places to play those games, too.
Exactly. I mean, the system is, for the most part, set up. The field just needs to be increased to include everybody who deserves to be included.
You know something, Dave? They'd be knocking on your door and asking your opinion because you are the man. I'm telling you, I appreciate it very much.
Well, the Courtyard Marriott, Mike, let me look over at the door. Nope, nobody's standing in my doorway asking me my opinion.
But they should be, David. That's the thing about it, friend.
Well, they're not.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm going to take the next Saturday off. As I mentioned, we'll get ready to start 2025. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, friend. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, Mike, take it easy.
We'll say go Panthers. We got much more for you coming up next. Let's wrap things up here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. Thanks so much for being with me here on this Saturday morning. Thanks to Dave Cohen. Thanks to Harper LaBelle. Thanks to Sutton Shirley. And thank you to you for being a part of our radio station family each and every Saturday here on 97.5 Glory FM. Online at WGTJradio.com with a live video stream on YouTube at Team Glory Sports. This is WGTJ Murrayville, Gainesville, and W248DL Murrayville, Gainesville. Thanks for being with us here, and stay tuned to the Learland Championship this evening.
97.5 Glory.